Welcome back to the Professional Lovers channel. I'm Al.
And I'm Patty. And we are
the Professional Lovers. Go ahead.
And we're back.
Yes.
With another episode this week of Married at First Sight, where the couples first talked to friends of theirs about how things were going. Then second, had a housewarming party. For their friends. And third, girls talk to the girls, guys talk to the guys about how things were going. So those are basically, that's the setup for tonight's episode. But before we get started, in case you're new, and we keep getting new subscribers every week, so
thank you.
Yay! We appreciate you subscribing and joining us. And if you know other Married at First Sight fans who are interested in building their own solid relationships with their significant others, and tell them to tune in.
True.
And to like us and subscribe us and keep giving the feedback, because we enjoy that as well. We've been married 28 years, and we kind of infuse our discussion of Married at First Sight episodes with our own experiences and with little nuggets from our book, Becoming a Professional Lover.
Becoming a Professional Lover.
Yes.
The title in itself is intriguing. You have to admit. So if you're interested, by all means, look it up.
Look it up. Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. Lindy and Miguel. What's the name?
Lingel.
Lingel had an interesting discussion tonight. Now, they were Miguel was very effusive in his praise of Lindy and the kind of person that she is. And
how he's being won over and,
right. How he's feeling about the marriage and
that if there was to be a breakup and this did not follow through, that they both, him included, would be devastated.
Right. So he's really invested for her.
He's invested.
And he is trying to look beyond the 8 weeks. Says that he has held nothing back from her. She knows everything about him, all the darkest things. And he got to see a side of her that he got introduced to a side of her that he hadn't met yet. Yeah. So they were arguing about her,
what she wanted and what he wanted, something that both of them wanted.
Well, I'd say that they felt like they needed it.
Yeah. Well, they felt like they needed it, but they haven't had it. So it's a want,
So Lindy was sharing with his friends at the party. They had asked whether or not they had argued about anything, and she said, well, yeah, we're actually arguing about me taking his last name and him putting me on his health insurance. And he basically has said that I'm not going to put you on my health insurance if you're not going to take my last name. And what is that about? I don't get it. Well, Lindy, I get it.
You're married.
Because, first of all, the friends pointed out that both of them are not doing that thing because of the uncertainty of the longevity of their relationship.
Correct.
Right? So Lindy, in her perception, doesn't want to give away her identity by taking his last name because of the uncertainty that she feels. And he doesn't want to increase his premiums by putting her on his health insurance because of the uncertainty of the relationship.
What this could
lasting.
potentially,
So my question during this little tit for tat thing was, A, why does she not have her own health insurance?
As an adult.
With a doctorate.
PhD.
And you've been living on your own now for however long. And how have you been managing your health issues, unless you haven't had any up until this time? And the passion and the frustration and anger that she displayed in their conversation after the party made me feel like you just really, this is my chance for some health insurance and I need it. I need you to give it to me.
Was this an alternative? I don't know. What do they call it? An alternative?
An ulterior motive.
Ulterior motive, yes.
Ulterior motive. That's what it started sounding like. Yeah. And he made an important comment in their discussion after the party, which was, you want us to live like we're married. You want a joint account, so you want to join our money. Yeah. You want to be on my health insurance as a spouse. But the very thing that people do when they get married, you don't want to do.
And on top of that, a name, a legal name, is exactly that. You can choose to change your name or not. You can use your original maiden name as your middle name. I mean, there's a variety of ways in which you can legally adjust your name.
And I know this because I did it.
Yes.
I identify with her wanting to keep part of the identity that she's had all these years. As the only girl in my family, out of 5 children, I have 4 brothers. As the only girl, it felt some kind of way for me to have to give up my name when nobody else in my family had to. Okay? So, all I simply did was change my birth middle name to my maiden name and took his name. And it's not hyphenated.
Exactly.
But it's Patrice Thomas Conwell. And on all of my professional papers and anything, and books I write, or whatever, it's Patrice Thomas Conwell. No big deal. I've kept my Thomas identity and I've taken his name and added the Conwell identity. Yeah. So, sorry, Lindy, I'm not feeling that at all.
No,
at all.
It didn't warrant the intensity and the attitude that she had for thinking that she would have to give up something so grand. And I'm not belittling a name. A name is critical.
Because I understand it.
That is an identity, and I understand that. But if you chose not to, insurance or not, if you chose not to because you are Dr. LOA. At first I thought it was initials of some sort.
Yeah, you can be Dr. Lindy LOA Santiago.
Simple.
Done.
Hey.
But
it didn't warrant all of that.
At the end, well, first in their discussion, Miguel asked, what do you need from me to feel secure? Right. Great question. Matches the tip that we're going to share. That to settle your differences, you settle your differences by meeting each other's present needs.
Simple.
And he did that in the end by agreeing to put her on his health insurance, which I think was really big of him.
Huge.
Because
how she came at him.
Yeah.
For not doing
wanting
that.
To do that, cursing and all of that.
Yeah. And that, he even admitted, that this is a side that I'm not really feeling. I ain't feeling this, which I can understand. I mean, because we can always communicate on a higher plane than that.
Yeah.
Old movie reference.
But I'm, kudos to him.
Yeah.
For going ahead and agreeing to do that without the assurance from her that she would have a married name.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's them. Kristen and Mitch seem to be in a really good place again this week.
Surprise, surprise.
Again, she was very complimentary and giving him all kinds of affirmations to his friends and to the girls when they talk together about, where they are. And he's like doing the same
Same for her.
thing.
And he recognizes his change and his adjustment and his getting out of his own way and allowing this to be a relationship. Now, he is a different kind of character.
And she's taken that in stride.
Big time.
Because, you know, his extreme environmentalism.
Yeah.
That's hard to get. That would be hard for me to get used to.
I mean, well, one would even think, and not to say that there's anything wrong with it.
Well, Kristen made that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's actually right, which makes her willing to deal with.
And try to adapt and adjust,
yes.
you know.
Yes.
Even in an immediate instance with this party, it cost more money to have the party because of certain things that he chose not to have. You know, which plastic, and he's a
reusable kind of guy.
Yeah, and he's on the beach.
Yeah.
Daily, you know, which is the location in which plastic has the most detriment to the environment. Period. I mean, to the ecosystem of the ocean, it is terrible.
Yeah, so he has great reasons. Yeah. It's just hard to live like that if you haven't.
If it's not your norm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of taken it in stride.
Yeah.
When she met with her friend asked, did Mitch know about her history, her relationship history with her broken engagement? She said no. And following her friend's advice, she told him. Yeah. And the reason why she hadn't told him, she told her friend, is because she had told other guys in the past.
And they ran or held it against her.
And I couldn't understand that.
Well, because that was...
How does your fiance having an affair for 6 months, not a one-night stand or an oopsie, 6 months, and you didn't find out from him, you found out from the side piece. How does that become
an issue of your character? Or about
with
you?
Guys blaming you for what the fiance did. I couldn't get that at all.
Well, from a guy's perspective,
please,
that's an instant backdoor out. So if you hanging out and, you know, y'all kicking it and having fun and you ain't really interested in it becoming any more than what it is, that's your out. Evidently something's wrong with you because, you know, y'all were together for 6 years and then suddenly he just up and out, you know. Yeah, you're not longevity material.
Well, thankfully, Mitch responded the way he should have.
Really?
Which was, okay, that's what happened.
That is what it
is. That changes nothing about you and me.
It's unfortunate. You know, I wouldn't have handled it that way, but...
yeah, hey. Sorry that happened to you. You don't have to worry about me doing that.
Yeah.
So he handled it the way he should have. Only little other thing is that, of course, her dog has lots of breathing and issues and snoring. And
a snoring dog.
Of course, she's gotten used to that again because she lives with the dog.
Yeah.
But he, on the other hand, is having trouble sleeping, and I get it. And then he's, again, doesn't see dogs as children.
Yeah.
It's just an animal. So his feelings for the dog is like,
Yeah.
But, you know, that's something. She has to adapt to his environmentalism. He has to adapt to the dog. So there you go.
Compromise.
Yep.
Compromise.
Alexis and Justin, not in a good place again this week because of their communication styles.
Yeah.
They are talking at each other and not with each other.
Right. Because of their styles, they're talking at each other because they're not totally comprehending each other and the manner in which they're expressing their thoughts and feelings about things. Unfortunate accident with the dogs. Yes, it could have been handled a number of different ways. And
well, this time though, it was about the dog not eating.
Well, yeah.
Throwing up blood, finding out that the dog hadn't eaten in 2 days, and she got mad that Justin hadn't told her that the dog hadn't eaten in 2 days. But then my first question was,
how come you don't know that your dog hadn't eaten in 2 days? It's your dog. Now, were you not in the same surroundings with Justin and the dog?
Just wondering why you don't know your dog hasn't eaten in 2 days.
And maybe there's a reason behind it. I don't know, but
we
that's
don't know.
your dog, so.
So to characterize it as though, once again, him not sharing that information is a calculated manipulative technique to lying is a stretch. Now,
It is.
okay, so, and that was her thing. I've asked you to over communicate, but what does that mean? Now, okay, so you're expecting, I'm not sure what that means. He's being vague.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what that actually means.
Well, in my opinion, just listening to how she's having the expectation of how he's supposed to communicate with her, she's looking for details. She's looking for details that may not necessarily be part of his communication style. And not that it's an excuse, but we guys are not detail oriented. We'll give you the gist of what's going on, and we're in the moment, and we move forward with it.
And
we're solution oriented.
And his friend told her that.
Exactly that.
At the party.
Exactly that.
This isn't an intentional not giving information.
Exactly.
This is, I'm not thinking about that. And I didn't think it was relevant.
I'm not thinking about history when I'm looking at something that I'm not feeling good about in the first place. All I'm trying to do is resolve this situation. Upset that it happened. How do we get past this?
And I could also see with him being a dog owner, he feels like he knows how to deal with a dog.
Yeah, this is his dog.
Okay, I'm putting the food down and the dog just doesn't want to eat for whatever reason, but the dog still needs to take medicine. Do I know that the medicine needs to be given with food? I don't know. Yeah. But in her mind, he's lying because he's not sharing all the information.
Yeah.
And Stacia said, I can kind of identify with that because sometimes in discussion, it just doesn't come up in my brain until a week or so later.
Divulging details.
And his friend said,
not necessarily hiding things intentionally.
Right.
So
it just doesn't come up.
Yeah.
So look, it just seems like a difference in communication style. I don't like the fact that they went at it in the store.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that she kind of outed him in front of, that was the first discussion in the party. Mm-hmm. Same with Morgan outing Binh at the party. I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to them.
Yeah.
But, she got kind of the same reactions from the girl, Stacia, when she was talking with the girls, and his friend that said, look, don't use that as a judgment call.
Yeah.
And she admitted to her sister that, I do have commitment issues.
Yeah, well, that she's known. She's been a runner all of her life.
And I do talk myself out of potentially good relationships. Yeah. So she sees.
I love her logic.
She's doing.
I appreciate that she works through things, and even though I think her heightened resistance in her understanding his honesty or, labeling his communication style as being somewhat dishonest or not as
manipulative.
Yeah. I think that's a little manipulative on her part, because then that becomes part of that defense mechanism that gives her the reasoning behind, I can't trust
running.
Yeah. But she does things in a logical manner. And I can honestly appreciate that about her. She will talk herself through things. And in this case, she's listening, and I believe that she will ultimately make a positive decision in understanding that this is an instance and this is a situation in which We're two individuals that are brand new to each other, and we're getting to understand and know one another. And the understanding in a fashion that everybody becomes comfortable with it takes time. It just takes time.
And also one other thing that Justin pointed out about himself, and I know this to be true because you're like this. Some people, when you're talking, when you're in a discussion, especially a heated discussion, some people like me and Alexis, thoughts just come one right behind the other, and it's boom, 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 question after question after question after question. And the other person, like Justin and Alton, need time to process what you're saying, what you're asking me. I need to think about it to formulate my answer. Because I can't give it to you right away.
Because in a situation where we feel like we're being pressed about something, we don't want to come off combative, overly defensive to the point where it becomes reverse aggression. You come at me and I'm going to come at you. It's a thing where I'm going to try to respond to what you're saying as opposed to react to how I'm feeling that you're coming at me. So, yeah, it takes us an extra second or two. It might even take us a day, to say, hey, regarding that situation, this was my thought process, and hey, that's how people think. That's how I think, as opposed to just responding and reacting in a manner that, no, that ain't the case, and I don't want that to, because I know how I feel I can be, which is my effort in making sure that I am not that way. So that's kind of what allows it to be 28 years.
Yeah, so, you have to, that's something you have to accept. I can't force Al to communicate or think as fast as I can. And
I'm thinking all the time, but I don't need to say everything that I think.
So anyway, that's something that they're going to have to work out. Morgan and Binh. So I feel that Morgan thought that forcing Binh to share what happened on their honeymoon, because the friends asked, so how was your honeymoon? How did things go? And he was first trying to kind of be like
diplomatic.
Yes, he was trying to be diplomatic, and she looked at it as, he doesn't want to say how it really was. Well, so she forced the issue, and I feel like she forced the issue because she thought she was going to be supported in her view.
Right.
That was my feeling. Yeah. And nobody supported her in her view.
Because, it's almost like today. Nowadays, there's this thing called cancel culture. And that's her mentality of holding on to a grudge. If you cross me,
right,
you're done.
Done. We don't
Period.
even,
So you can't make a mistake. I'm like, we're brand new.
Not only that, we're human beings.
Exactly. How are we not going to make a mistake?
How am I not going to be hurt at some point? So how is he not going to be hurt at some point?
Basically, it's how do we get through it? And how do we not duplicate what we're going through?
Right. So when your best friend says, you need to take that wall down, and all the other friends say, you need to take that wall down. He has apologized numerous times to everyone. And he's trying to demonstrate. And you're still insisting on, this is just how I've been. And it's hard for me. And don't want to hear it.
And even Pastor Cal's last episode asked, who controls the wall? So it's on her to make the adjustment, to adapt, to compromise, to be a little bit more vulnerable if this is to be a relationship. Because he has apologized profusely.
And even the girls said, look, what has happened in the past is what happened. You can't change that. You need to move forward, And I wish they had said that to her on camera. They said it to the camera individually themselves. She needs to give him grace. I wish
Well,
they kind of said that to her on camera.
something that Lindy said, that you have a good relationship, you're hanging out. I mean, if he had hurt you and you can't be with him, you can't stand him, you don't want to be around him, that's one thing, but that is not your case,
Right?
so
there's hope.
Yeah, exactly. Bottom line, there is hope.
So Morgan can make the choice to
bring down the wall.
Yeah, to let him
and let the
back in.
relationship, become organic again.
Right. All right, so our last couple, Stacia and Nate, they were also in a good place, had a good party. And I have to say, so they share with each other's friends. And it was interesting, let me point this out, that everybody except for Kristen and Mitch talked with the other spouse's friends at the party.
Yeah.
Whereas Kristen and Mitch talked to their own
friends
support system.
Yeah.
About what was going on. I thought that was interesting. But anyway, Stacia and Nate are on different pages with children. Stacia, thank you. And Nate.
We know it, Stacia.
Yeah. So Stacia and Nate are on different pages with children, which, we can understand. We've talked about her biological clock, But I thought it was interesting that Nate has decided to go to therapy.
Yeah. But actually his friends indicated and read it perfectly that, if you brought it up, I guarantee that, he'd be open and objective to accepting whatever your thoughts are about improving this situation. And it was so that when Stacia brought up therapy, he was willing to do it,
For himself.
Right. Because he understood that, okay, yeah, she's going through a little more than maybe I have, and she's going through therapy, and she is understanding how to
get in touch with her feelings,
navigate through certain situations,
talk it out,
right.
and to be more open and vulnerable. And since she's requesting the same from him,
maybe he can get the same results.
Right. He has never gone to therapy. So maybe me going to therapy will help me learn how to communicate my vulnerability in a way that she can tell that that's what I'm doing. Yeah. And so kudos to him, because, again, therapy, counseling
triggers.
They have a negative stereotype, especially in the Black community and especially with Black men. Yeah. So kudos to him for being willing to do that in order to communicate his feelings the way that she's looking for him to do. And
understand, it is a very valuable and viable option for anyone to take part in, because it's not something that has to go on forever. Sometimes
exactly.
It's just a situation in which you find out why triggers are triggers and deal with them. And
if you can't do that yourself, then it's helpful to do that with an expert.
Right.
So there you have it. Tonight's episode recap.
Yes.
So, couple of the week.
Couple of the week.
Your couple of the week.
Wow. Awkward to say it, but Mitch.
No. And Kristen.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
They're just in a good place right now.
And happy for them for being there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, once again, Kristen and Mitch, for both of us, red flag couple.
And I think we agree at this one also. Morgan and
Binh, but mainly Morgan.
Yeah, the couple of the week, Morgan. No, but it's because of her resistance that is the flag that looks like it could sabotage the possible relationship of where this could go.
Yeah, because when her best friend said, look, you need to, she was very resistant.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal when you have been used to canceling people who hurt you once and that's it. And you created that as a habit that's very difficult to overcome for someone that you married as a stranger. True. But you married them.
You did.
You chose to marry them.
Yeah.
So, huge red flag. But we'll see what happens. So, we hope to see you next week. Until then, we want you to love yourselves
and each other.
Bye.
Peace.